Welcome back to Teaching Smarter, Not Harder, by activating students' own social, emotional, and cognitive skills development. This lesson is part 2 about soaring questions. As mentioned in part 1, we explained the essential importance of asking groups of kids questions that matter in order to exercise and activate their own potential for collaboratively and creatively solving problems and resolving challenges. The questions we use soar, and we call those questions that matter. In other words, questions that matter are questions that draw out kids' own intelligence, their own insights, their own perspectives, their own wisdom, their own creative problem solving abilities. The letters in the SOAR acronym stand for stretching, open-ended, age-appropriately challenging, relevant, and respectful. In part 1 of this series, we explained stretching questions, what they are, how to design them, and their value for your students' brain development and engaged learning. This lesson, part 2, will focus on the O in the SOAR acronym, open-ended questions, their structure, and their critical importance for students' engaged learning. To support you in the design and implementation of open-ended questions, we'll be examining 3 main points. Open-ended questions have more than one right answer, unlike closed-ended questions, which only have one right answer, generally. Open-ended questions enliven and expand fresh thinking about everyday situations, unlike lectures. And open-ended questions spark engagement, discussion, and carryover behaviors and benefits, unlike incentive charts and star charts and rewards charts. Now let's take those main points one by one. One of the great advantages of open-ended questions is that there is always more than one right answer. That alone is essential for nurturing the natural-born spark of creativity within young children. Another profound advantage of engaging groups of children with open-ended questions is their combined discoveries of how much they have in common with classmates, like feelings and values, even though they're all very, very different in lots and lots of ways. They get to discover by hearing each other's answers that deep down, they all know what it feels like to get hurt feelings. They all understand the importance of playing fair. They all want to have healthy relationships. They all can figure out what's safe and what isn't, plus so much more. Discovering similarities within a group of peers, it naturally decreases isolation, and it very naturally builds belonging, and has been shown to measurably increase students' cumulative growth towards self-sufficient, collaborative problem solving, towards solutions that work for everyone, also known as win-win, which is so much healthier and more practical, both short and long term, than win-lose solutions, which cause so many unnecessary problems on the schoolyard and on our planet. Teachers who consistently provide students with foundational experiences that enable collaborative discovery of win-win outcomes are providing the type of education that will impact students' long-term attitudes towards constructive interactions and outcomes with all people, responsible interactions towards animal friends, towards our whole wide world, towards the environment. Unfortunately, too often we see the use of closed-ended questions, one answer questions which don't really lead anywhere, kind of like this. So, if we want real learning to happen in our classrooms, then expanding our skills at creating more open ended opportunities for students to think about and resolve their own challenges is an essential direction for professional development. Okay, so now get ready to pause the next slide where you will see open ended and closed ended questions. Read each of them, compare them, and if you can, think back to when you were a young student. How much would the close ended questions have engaged your own curiosity and your problem solving abilities? How would you have felt if your teachers had asked you and your classmates those open ended questions? So, as in just a moment, you can hit the pause button, and the hand will go away in a moment, and then you can hit the pause button for as long as you need to compare and contrast these open-ended and close-ended questions. Then, when you're ready, just resume the video. So, how does all of this strike you so far? Some taking this course might be thinking, are the instructors crazy? They want me to not tell a class full of preschoolers what to do and how to behave? I mean, what could possibly go wrong with that? Besides everything. Well, if those kinds of questions are running through your mind, you're not alone. But this is where neurobiology provides an abundance of validating research about contemporary science of learning. And a little further into the course, we'll be explaining many more fascinating and practical details. But for now, research is very clear about the fact that lectures or one-sided presentations are not the way for true engaged learning to happen in the classroom. On the other hand, well-crafted, open-ended questions spark, enliven, and expand fresh thinking about everyday situations. In other words, well-crafted, open-ended questions open the way for looking, thinking, and feeling with new points of reference, with new perspectives, with less preconceptions and more keenly focused attention. We could even say more mindfully. Pretty much everyone agrees that lectures, by their one-sided nature, do not have the capacity to enliven engaged responses. We have another point about creating open-ended questions. Sometimes there's just no way around asking questions that invariably elicit one-word responses. So whenever that happens, the most helpful response from the teacher is to ask who, what, where, when, why, and how questions. Because ultimately, the intention of this approach is to spark engagement, discussion, and carry over behaviors onto the playground, into the lunchroom, even into cleanup time. Something that rewards charts are not capable of helping you to achieve so smoothly, so consistently, and with genuine student ownership for all the right reasons. So, in conclusion, well-managed classrooms are a joy for teachers and for students. Creative educators understand that only when students regularly exercise their own collaborative problem-solving abilities and skills are they willing and are they prepared to resolve their own challenges, whether predictable or unpredictable, which, of course, is a #1 school readiness skill, and a life readiness skill for that matter. Open-ended questions are a big key to your well-managed classroom success, enabling you to teach smarter, not harder, by activating your students' own social, emotional, and cognitive skills development. In our next lesson, we'll prepare you to design age-appropriately challenging questions for your students, which is actually a very fun topic. Bye for now.